Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun, of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
So this was a big change for me. In 1988, when we moved to Iowa, 1988 when we moved to Iowa, and I was 8 years old, the Black population for Iowa, the state of Iowa, was 1%. That is a fact that was shared with me that has been burned into my memory for all these years. And I was sitting in Coralville or in Johnson County. So we were where the university was, and every Black family knew every Black family, every single one. So that was very different than the life that I'd had in Savannah, where it's kind of sad to say to this day in some ways, Savannah is now, as it was then, a very segregated city. For the most part, Black people stay to themselves and white people stay to themselves. That was how it was when I was born. It was how it was before I was born. And I have observed, even in my adulthood, that that is largely how it is still today. So imagine I'm 8 and I'm used to mostly seeing Black people. And being in a family where people afforded us a certain kind of respect. I'm from a ministerial family. So people would look at you and they'd know you belonged to Reverend Billy Gwyn, some kind of way. Those Gwyn just had a look about them. So you best not misbehave, because they would, y'all, even into adulthood, when my grandfather still lived, when we would come home to visit, we made doggone sure we weren't in places that we didn't want him to know we were at, because someone was going to pick up a phone and call over to Kathy Street and tell him, hey, was that your such and such that we saw over in such and such? So you better not get caught in the liquor store. Someone was going to tell. Anyway, but I went from a very insulated community where I never felt other to a city where that's all I felt for the 8 years I lived there. Moving to Iowa was the beginning of otherhood for me. It was not an easy transition for me, because I could remember what it was like at home. And like I said, there were some things that weren't super great, but there was a lot that really was. And the first day of school, first day of 3rd grade at Coralville Central Elementary, I will never forget, I wore my Sunday best, because that's what you do when you're from the South. And I came in a little girl with an accent like a person from Savannah, because that's how we talked. And we spoke very well, but there was a certain cadence to the way that we spoke, and that was normal for us. And I come to Iowa where everyone talked a little more like with a click twang, and well, what are you trying to do? it was a very different space in the throat, where the sounds people would say would come at you. And when you think about the different ethnic groups that populated Iowa, it makes a lot more sense. It's part of what probably spurred my interest in sociology and whatnot, but I digress a little. So I'm trying to figure out what language these people were talking, but I come to school and I'm in my Sunday best. I had on my white dress that had the little ringlet designs along the sleeves, short sleeves, of course. My hair was freshly done in 4 fat pigtails and my cute barrettes, and I had my shiny, clean shoes on and everything that clapped a little bit when you walked. And I walked into my 3rd grade classroom, and as I approached the door, there was a lot of noise. And I don't remember there being anyone with me. There could have been, but I don't remember it that way. I remember walking to the door. And when I got to the door, everyone turned and looked at me, and the whole room went dead quiet. And they just stared at me. That was the beginning of my otherhood. That was when I realized there was something different. And I didn't understand exactly what it was. And from a child's memory perspective, to me, that was the moment that was forever frozen in time. I'm sure it wasn't a very long moment when I think about it logically. I'm sure I was ushered into the room, taken to my assigned desk, sat down, and we began the instruction. But it was a turning point moment for me because I felt on display for the first time in my life. And not the kind of display when you get up to do a speech for Sunday school. It felt very different than that. It felt like things are going to be different now. And they were. 8-year-old me in Iowa looked a lot like this. Remember I told you about those pigtails? I was an Iowa Hawkeye. You couldn't tell me they weren't the best team in the nation. I learned to adapt. So from 8 to 9, ninth grade, not ninth grade, 9-year-old, 4th grade. A lot happened. A lot happened. Um, some of the stories are really hard to tell. One I will. In 4th grade, and I'm not going to call names because that's cruel, but in 4th grade, there was a new girl who moved into the district um, with her family. And ironically, she lived not far from us in Coraville. And we had a very complicated and difficult relationship, but I wanted to be friends with her. She was white. And I think she wanted to be friends with me, but we had very different ideas about what friendship was supposed to be. And I remember, I think part of it was that she and I were both used to being leaders. And I felt like she was given the opportunity to be a leader more readily than I was. And I was trying to figure out, why is this? Because I've been here a year longer than her. Why would she get to come in and suddenly be offered opportunities to lead and whatnot? And I remember that in the early days, she kind of had a posse of 3 or 4 other girls. And 4th grade was the year when I started really growing into my womanhood. I got my period and my boobs showed up, much to my chagrin. I didn't want them. Did I mention I was a tomboy? Did I mention that? Um, oh God, the teasing. Girls can be so cruel. Girls can be so cruel. Boys you can handle, but the girls. I got accused of stuffing. I got accused of doing all these other kind of things, of trying to be something that I really wasn't. And the whole time I'm just like, I don't even understand. I don't even want, can I give these to you? I mean, all of this, just all the changes. But I remember one time I went to the bathroom and I'm just in the bathroom, going to do what I need to do, install. And I hear other people come into the bathroom and, that's normal. It's whatever. I've got my door closed and everything. I'm doing what I need to do. And I hear the shuffling and fumbling or whatever in the stall next to me. And it's starting to sound kind of peculiar. So I'm about to be done doing what I need to do. But something is like, I felt like I had eyes on me. And so I look up and I see this girl has climbed up on top of a toilet and is peering over at me while my pants are down, trying to look at me while I'm using the bathroom. And I was horrified. I was like, "What are you doing?" And so I hurry up and I pull my pants up and I flush and I come out of there and like I wash my hands and I get out of there because I'm like, what the heck? I don't understand what's going on. Um, and I went and I told someone. I don't know who I told. It was an adult. And so they sat us all down, the girls involved in me. And they're trying to figure out what happened because there was no adults in the bathroom with us when all this happened. And it wasn't a long period of time. Um, and when it came down to it, she admitted with no kind of real regret or anything. She said, well, we had to see whether or not she had a tail. For those of you who grew up in the 70s and 80s, you may remember that there used to be these horrid little cartoons of caricatures of Africans, usually minstrelly kinds of things, that where Africans were drawn like monkeys, and some of them had curly tails. I had auditioned to be a part of a little dance troupe that was dancing to this song called Kokomo, a song I still can't listen to without being angry. And I'm 40 now. But I was like, I got a cute bathing suit. I'm from a place where there's actually a beach. I can dance. I should go ahead and be in this thing. Now, I'm the only Black girl who's trying to get on the squad. I know the whole routine and everything. And the girl who was the leader of this, who was not the one who was staring at me, but they were all kind of grouped up. She was one of the ones in this group that I had trouble with. She had decided that I was not going to be on the group, and I think this group got sent into the bathroom to investigate how they could have evidence for saying why I didn't need to be in the group. Because if I had a tail, that tail was going to show, and that would be bad for their show. I am thankful for the adult who intervened in that situation as she tried to explain to them that that was not true. This adult was one of my few advocates um, while I was at that school who could understand what it was like to be so other. And I will never forget her for that. But I was done after that. She talked to the girls. She explained to them. They relented after she had explained to them that that was wrong, and whoever had told them that that was not the case, that I didn't have a tail, that there was no reason why I shouldn't be on the troop. But at that point, I knew I wasn't wanted. That was just an excuse. And so I never followed through on that, even though the path had been cleared for me to go ahead and be a part. I didn't want to be where I wasn't wanted. Fourth grade, y'all. I was 9. I never auditioned for another dance troupe, cheerleading squad, anything like that ever again, actually. Because I could never quite get past that feeling of being rejected because someone thought, because I was Black, that it would either be embarrassing or too difficult for me to belong to something like that because of my looks. It was rough.